Already the makings of a beautiful weekend in Kansas City. A nice look overhead the Plaza area, not too far from Kauffman Stadium. The Mariners and the Royals getting set today. It's the middle game of 3 to begin the road trip. Glad to have you with us as always. Aaron Goldsmith alongside Angie Mentink. And Angie, the Mariners, after a day off a couple of days ago, they open up the road trip with a kind of a Mariner-esque win, a 2-0 shutout win over Kansas City.
It was a good reset to have the day off, and it was really good to see the Mariners win a tight ball game. We had an idea going into this series against the Royals that they were going to be tight games. The Mariners had lost 16 straight when scoring 2 runs or less. So huge to get this first one yesterday in the fashion that they did.
So a chance for a series win today in game 2 of 3. And we'll turn our attention to the pitching matchup, our Western Washington Toyota Dealers pitching matchup. Stephen Kolek is on the mound for the Royals. Meanwhile, George Kirby, who's been so good this year, coming off his roughest start of the season, gets the ball for Dan Wilson.
I asked Dan Wilson about that. He said instead of a bounce back, we're going to call last start a one-off, basically. It's an interesting matchup because Kirby has been really effective this season in keeping the ball down, keeping the ball on the ground. But the Royals, on the other side of things, don't hit a lot of ground balls at all. In fact, they've got the lowest percentage in baseball, so we'll see who comes out on top in that matchup.
Kirby facing the Royals, a team he's had success against over the course of his career. Royals in their baby blues today. Stephen Kolek coming off his best start of the year.
Yeah, he was fantastic last time out. And the last time he faced these Seattle Mariners, we saw him change things up quite a bit. And I mean that literally. There was the pun. I intended it. His changeup, he threw it 30% of the time. That's about twice as much as he usually throws that pitch, and it was really effective. So we'll see how he goes about it today against the Seattle Mariners.
Game 2 of 3 here in Kansas City. We were talking last night about the Negro League Museum. Bob Kendrick, the president of the Negro League Museum, will be swinging by the booth today. He was at the ballpark earlier this morning with a bit of a gift, a presentation from the Mariners. We'll find out more from Brad about that when we come back. Mariners TV is brought to you by Emerald Queen Casino. SNL alum and hilarious stand-up comedian Pete Davidson comes to Emerald Queen Casino August 28th. Tickets at emeraldqueen.com. By the Washington Traffic Safety Commission, seatbelts save lives. Remember to always buckle up when you drive. And by PIMCO, the insurance you get. Learn more at PIMCO.com. Beautiful day in Kansas City. Mariners and the Royals inside Kauffman Stadium. It's the middle game of 3. Mariners going for a series win. Back to last night. Our Miller Lite moment. It was the deciding swing of the game. Mitch Garver's second home run of the year. What a day for Garver, catching a shutout and blasting a go-ahead game-winning 2-run home run. Well, today's already been a bit of an eventful day for the Mariners. For more on that, let's go down to the field. What's been going on today, Brad?
Oh, Aaron, you're right. A really cool moment before the game. We all know the Mariners wear the steelhead jerseys on Sunday at home. They're the only major league team to wear a Negro Leagues jersey, part of their regular uniform rotation. And today, J.P. Crawford got to gift a game-worn, signed, authenticated Steelheads jersey to Negro Leagues Baseball Museum President Bob Kendrick to add to the museum's collection of historic artifacts. Mariners Care Foundation also made a $25,000 donation to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum in support of the museum's campaign for the Buck O'Neill Education and Research Center. Dan Wilson doing the honors there. There's a signed jersey for JP. He said this means everything. We know how much he loves honoring the Negro Leagues and wearing that Steelheads jersey. He says to think this is going to be hanging in a museum forever is mind-blowing. A great moment for him. And Bob, to his credit, said, hey, I'm going to find a special place for this for sure in the museum. A really cool moment before the game as we get you set for game 2. Again, Mariners trying to win a series. The stars are out, the young kids out as well. It's Emerson Julio Naylor and the Mariners, and Kirby on the mound up against the Royals. That's next.
Mariners TV is brought to you by your local Ford dealer, home of the F-150, America's best-selling truck for 49 years. By UW-Medicine, the only health system in Washington that directly connects care to a research and learning powerhouse. UW-Medicine, a higher degree of healthcare. And by Global Credit Union, powering the new Seattle Mariners Cashback Credit Card. Apply for yours at globalcu.org. A look down 18th Street in the Entrance to the Negro Leagues Museum here in Kansas City. Mariners and the Royals continuing their weekend set. Mariners winning last night in shutout fashion. A righty is on the mound in Stephen Kolek, and because of that, all the lefties are in there today for the Mariners. 6 will bat left-handed. It will not be easy against Kolek's changeup. But J.P. Crawford leading things off once again. Naylor, who had yesterday off, doubled up with the scheduled off day. He's fresh and back in there, batting third at first base. Rayleigh, Young, and Canzone, 3 straight lefties before Colt Emerson, left-handed bat, rounds out the order. Start number 4 this year for Kolek. Coming off a really good one his last time out. This will be interesting, Angie. A guy with some reverse splits.
Yep.
And we'll be facing a slew of lefties today, starting with JP, who bounces this routinely over to first, and Pasquantino's got it. 1 pitch and 1 away. Statcast powered by Google Cloud. That changeup and everything else that he throws.
You mentioned the changeup, and you mentioned his last start. Career high 13 ground ball outs versus the Cardinals. And quietly, he's been getting it done. It's not like there's anything really sparkly with him, but he's been getting it done. He has thrown 7 quality starts in 8 outings as a member of the Royals going back to last year.
First pitch strike to Julio. Good night for Julio last night in game 1. A double and a single, went 2 for 4 overall.
When he got his second hit against the Royals, they're a little frustrated with Julio's success against this team and said, in other news, Julio got another hit and the sky is blue.
Well, he has really had his way against Royals pitching over the course of his career, hitting safely in 10 of his last 11 here at Kauffman. Pops this up short left field. Witt is over. Garcia, the third baseman, near the line, makes the catch. 2 quick outs. And last night, the Mariners winning in shutout fashion. Some great pitching, both by the starter, Logan Gilbert, and then, of course, by the bullpen as well. The Mariners going to the leverage arms last night, and it was one swing for the Yims that won it. It was Garver's 2-run homer, and they were able to get the win without this man. Josh Naylor getting another day off yesterday, so they're happy to have him back in the lineup.
Yeah, smart with the day off and a tough lefty on the hill to be able to give him 2 straight days off. Looking spry today, isn't he?
A noticeable difference.
Yeah. Got the pink spikes on.
And Garcia way back, showing bunt for a moment.
Very spry.
I guess so.
Feeling spry and fast.
Two outs and nobody aboard. I would say Josh was taking. He looks at a strike.
He's thinking, I mean, if Garcia's not going to move and he's not going to go towards the line and he wants to give me a fray base hit, he doesn't think I'm going to do it. Dare me.
Out to right field in front of the warning track. Caglione is there. And the side retired in order. An 8-pitch top of the first for Kolek. The Royals lineup that has really struggled, especially as of late. The one guy they do have, though, is Bobby Witt Jr. Mariners have been able to hold Witt down. He's batting just 167, 3 for 18, but he has been one of the hottest hitters in baseball over the last month. Overall, Witt batting second today, then the big bats of Pasquantino and Perez to follow. A couple of bats that the Royals are trying to get things turned around with. George Kirby is on the mound today, making start number 11 this year facing Kansas City.
Yeah, so far he's 5-3. His strikeout rate a little bit down this year, but at the same time, you know, he's getting a lot of early contact, which means he's chewing up a few more innings.
Well, the innings have been noticeable for Kirby. There's no question. 9th most innings pitched in baseball coming into play today. Well, this is shot on a line to the gap in left center field. Arozarena can't get to it. It goes to the base of the wall. Extra bases for Garcia, who's got a leadoff double right away.
The two-seamer is going to be important for George Kirby today. The location of this one, not good. I'm sure if you'd ask George Kirby, he'd like to have this one back. And Garcia
gets a hold of it into the gap, puts himself in scoring position. First batter of the game.
Runner at second base for Bobby Witt Jr. He swings and misses for strike one. We mentioned Witt's struggles this year against Mariners pitching. James held him 0 for 4 last night with a couple of strikeouts.
And that's rare. That's hard to do, and not a lot of teams have been able to do that against Bobby Witt.
Weak ground ball tapped over to third. Barehand play Emerson, and with Witt's speed, had no chance. Infield base hit, and Garcia takes third on the play, so the Royals have him on the corners.
Nifty play by Colt Emerson, but Bobby Witt Jr., I mean, you know, he's just too fast. He comes in, is able to make the barehanded grab, and it's so difficult, you know, when you're barehanding this to find a seam. Make a good throw over to first base, but again, with speed, makes you hurry just a little bit more.
Runners on the corners, nobody out. First 2 men reaching. Here is Pasquantino. On the ground, a weak grounder. Young is able to get there, and it's bobbled, dropped. Witt is safe. Run scores Garcia. Everybody is safe, and it's 1-0 Kansas City.
Oh, there it is again. Bobby Witt Jr.'s speed having an impact on this play. Cole Young getting there, handcuffs J.P. Crawford just a little bit, but because Cole Young really had to put a little bit too much oomph on that flip, and J.P. not able to adjust to it.
Royals get their first run of the series. Here is Salvador Perez. Witt's taken off for third. Throw to third. Tag applied. He's safe. Both runners taken off. Witt to third. Pasquantino is in at second. The Royals trying to make something happen.
That's one of those ones that, I mean, Pareda probably just reacting. There's so much going on right now. The speed of the game, I think, speeding up on everybody just a little bit. But I think the call there is to try to get Pasquantino instead of Bobby Witt Jr. So get the trail runner at second instead of trying to get Witt at third.
Infield is in now. Well, it has been a real struggle all year, but especially as of late for the Royals. In their last 11 games, they're averaging fewer than 3 runs a contest, batting .216. They've lost 10 of their last 11.
The average with runners in scoring position is what really jumps out, in addition to their WRC+.
Another weak grounder. It ticks off Kirby's bare hand. Fortunately, Perez not a good runner, and Crawford was playing in already, so he's able to get there, and the first out is recorded.
This is a sweeper that he throws and gets Salvi out in front. Kirby, you know better than that. Just let JP handle it. Also, did he put his moneymaker out there too?
Absolutely.
Try to barehand that.
Big swing and a miss. Jensen, strike one. Infield remains in. Runners at second and third for the Royals. Up and away, a ball and a strike. 98 that time from George. Well, we talked about all the ground balls from Kirby. It's the 4th highest ground ball rate of any starting pitcher in the majors this year, and it's been a bunch of weak ground balls early on that have made for tough plays. Here's a bouncer. Naylor is able to get there, and now he steps on first. Meanwhile, Witt comes down the line and scores. So the infield is in, and they get a ground ball that is fielded, but Witt scores on a kind of in-between, and Naylor having to cover first base himself.
Yeah, George Kirby was just standing there kind of marveling at this play instead of getting over to first base. And once Josh Naylor had to turn his back on Bobby Witt Jr. at third base, he was off to the races.
Boy.
Death by a million paper cuts here in the first.
So Pasquantino the only runner now. Here's Caglione, who swings and misses. Line through the right side. Young can't get there on a dive. Pasquantino being waved in. Throw coming home. It's not in time. A 3-run first inning for Kansas City. Caglione this time with an RBI.
Caglione gets a changeup, and Kirby leaves this up in the zone on the outside corner, and he rips it into right field. And with 2 outs, Pasquantino is able to get an easy jump.
Strike 1 to Collins. It shows you how aggressive these Royals have been. This is the 7th batter of the inning, and Kirby has thrown 14 pitches. No Royals hitter has seen more than 3 pitches in an at-bat yet.
That's the thing with George Kirby. You know he's going to be in the strike zone. We've seen this before with teams being really aggressive, but you know, outside of Caglione's line drive to right field, they really haven't squared him up.
Caglione taking off. Pitch, a strike, throw, tag, and not in time. First stolen base this year for Caglione, only his 2nd attempt.
Right now, George Kirby really focused on the batter at the plate. Really big high leg kick, and Pareda not able to get it there in time as a result.
Two balls and 2 strikes to Collins. Kirby gets the strikeout to end the inning, but damage dealt. 7 batters come to the plate for the Royals. They score 3 runs and take the lead of the 2nd. June 1st to the 3rd, the Mariners welcome the Mets to town for an interleague matchup. You can pick up your tickets to see Juan Soto and the Mets at mariners.com/tickets. Strike 1 to Randy Arozarena, leading things off in the 2nd. Mariners now behind 3-0. A 3-run first inning for Kansas City.
That escalated quickly.
Randy on base twice last night, a pair of walks. In the air out to Caglione in right field, tracking this, drifting, and making the catch on the warning track. 1 away. Here comes Luke Raley. You know, it is an interesting situation for the Mariners today. Their best hitters are, generally speaking, they're left-handed hitters, and Kolek, a righty that has really handled lefties because of his changeup. Lefties don't have a hit on that changeup this year. Now, this is only his 4th start, but even if you go back to last season, there was nothing from lefties against the change. They were batting .059 against it last season. You can see the splits here. So even though you're facing a lefty and you've got the platoon advantage, this is not a walk in the park for a left-handed hitter.
No, it isn't. And you mentioned the changeup, and a big reason why these lefties have struggled so far against him. And again, haven't allowed a hit on that pitch. We're hyping up this changeup. He hasn't thrown one yet.
Speaking of, a weak
go.
ground ball, and Raley trying to leg it out is out at first base.
Luke walking back to first base, thinking he might have been safe. He was sniffing a base hit out of the box.
The Mariners are challenging this. You can see Luke on that replay He was motioning to the dugout to take a look at that immediately. The Mariners are challenging. They think Luke was in there safe.
Well, as a base runner, I mean, you just feel it. You know, on those bang bang plays. I'm not saying better than the umps, but oftentimes.
So call me Supermo.
Yeah, and you see his arms go out, pleading his case. Safe.
The field is overturned. The runner's safe. Seattle retains their challenge.
So the first hit on a changeup by a lefty this year against Kolek. It stayed in the infield, but a hit nonetheless. And Luke Raley's aboard.
Well, you can understand it's still effective pitch, and how he was able to get Luke Raley out in front and roll over.
Here's another lefty in Young. Okay, so the Mariners know what Kolek's strength is. They also know that they're putting 6 lefties in the lineup nonetheless. If you're in that hitters meeting today, what are you anticipating they're telling their hitters, their lefties in particular, about that pitch and how to actually get on base against it?
See it up in the zone. That change up, as soon as you pick it up out of his hand, and he sells it so well with that arm speed. So it looks just like that fastball coming out of his hand, but you've got to see that pitch up, because that pitch at the bottom of the zone is just going to exit the bottom of the zone.
Young, a line drive to the gap. Another hit on another changeup. Raley makes the turn into third, so a couple of lefty hitters both putting that changeup into play for base hits, and the Mariners in business.
Excellent piece of hitting right there by Cole Young. And it's so hard to do. The changeup, that's a great location for it, because as a hitter, to be able to drive that, usually you've got to be patient, you've got to let it travel, go the other way. But just because it was up just a little bit in the zone, and he has such great length in his swing, he's able to pull it into right field.
Here's Canzone. Another lefty bat takes down and in for ball 1.
Just back-to-back hits like that, even though, Luke Raley's didn't leave the infield, it can make Kolek think just a little bit more about throwing that pitch against these lefties.
Good memories for Canzone in this ballpark. You go back to mid-September of last year. Canzone, from 3-homer game, he became just the 12th Mariner ever to hit 3 home runs in a single game. And the first to do it since Kyle Seager. On the ground, fair ball. Pasquantino, who stepped on first, now throws home. They've got Raley in a rundown, and Garcia applies the tag. It's a double play. Well, the Mariners had a good thing going, first and third with 1 out, but Pasquantino starts a double play to end the Mariners' threat.
Just a little bit of bad luck for the Mariners here. Dom Canzone hits this one right to Pasquantino. He steps on the bag, and then Luke Raley, already on his way home, is caught in a rundown.
Our Steel scoreboard, 3-0 Royals. First pitch strike to Michael Massey, leading off the home second inning. A 3-run first against Kirby, who threw just 18 pitches in that first inning.
That gives you an idea of how aggressive they were. I mean, he faced 7 batters, and he ended up only throwing 18 pitches.
This is not normally a very aggressive swinging team, the Royals, but they certainly have been early on today against George. Which I imagine, based on Kirby's style, that a lot of teams that maybe are more passive could turn more aggressive when you face Kirby.
So you think about this, George Kirby's got, what, 4 starts against these Kansas City Royals? In those 4 starts, all those innings, 0 walks. 0 walks. So if you're looking for him to give you a free pass, well, it just hasn't happened for the Royals.
Still 1-2 on Massey, leading things off in the bottom of the second. ground ball. Young can't get to it. Leadoff man aboard, down to the field to Brad.
Well, here, let's check out the insurance you get, brought to you by Pemco Insurance. And it's that man, Julio Rodriguez, coming into today. Well, this is his 12th game, updated batting average here at Kauffman Stadium, 426 doubles, 14 RBI, a couple of home runs, OPSing over 1,000. I talked to Julio about that. I said, all right, what do you like about Kansas City? What do you like about this place? And he says, the fountains are nice. I like the big outfield to get to run around, make plays. I like that. I said, did barbecue or the stadium, anything else jump out at you? He said, no, not really. Just, I don't know. I just hit well here. And I guess sometimes, guys, that's the best answer. You don't want to think too much into it. And Julio certainly loves what he's doing here at Kauffman Stadium.
Well, it has been very kind to Julio. Man, it seems like that's the case every time you ask a guy who hits well in a certain ballpark what it is. Oh, very rarely.
Is it like, I love the batter's eye? Yeah, you know, no. It's just a shoulder shrug.
Kyle Isbell, the batter. Rattles that foul, 1-2.
What a bizarre start so far for George Kirby. I mean, again, they've squared him up a couple of times, no doubt about that. But in between that, it's just a lot of weak contact that somehow, some way has made it through the infield like Massey just did, back up the middle past a diving Cole Young. He's getting the ground balls.
Well, it is the thing about the ground balls, right? We talked about it in the first inning. Because Kirby has pitched more contact this year, he has had some quicker innings, some quicker outs as a result, fewer strikeouts. Here's a grounder that finds somebody. Emerson down to second. Crawford's got it to first base in time for the double play, and that wipes away that leadoff single. But you do play a little bit of roulette when the ball gets in play like it has today, and it has not been kind always already this afternoon.
But we have seen a lot of this from George Kirby. That is the 12th ground ball double play that he has had behind him, and that leads Major League Baseball.
Two outs and nobody on. Here is Garcia. He takes low for ball one. Well, it's the pitcher's best friend, and Kirby's been such a supreme ground ball pitcher. Not a surprise. Well, maybe a surprise that he's been such a great ground ball pitcher this year. It's not something that he's really had in his bag until this year, and George has no explanation for it. This is not something that he went out and tried to change this offseason, but it has been a real calling card of his this year at least. Crawford's got it, and that retires the side. So another ground ball and a scoreless second for Kirby. Welcome back in Kansas City. This is a real treat. Bob Kendrick, our Wells Fargo active Mike, the president of the Negro League Hall of Fame and Museum here in Kansas City. Bob, it's been a while. It's so good to see you again, my friend. How are you?
It is good to see you all as well, and I'm doing well. And thank you guys so much for having me on the show.
Oh my gosh, this is first of all, it's just great to talk baseball with you. You're one of the great baseball storytellers that we've ever come across. But this was a really special day for you and for the museum. I know Dan Wilson and J.P. Crawford presented you with the autographed J.P. Crawford Steelheads jersey. Brad, we saw the pictures and Brad talked about it. What did that mean to you earlier today?
It was very special. It was very special. It was special earlier this season when the Mariners announced that they were going to wear the Steelhead uniform as a regular part of this season, every Sunday home game there in Seattle, the first Major League team to do so. And that meant the world to me as well. Today was just as special to have Dan and JP break away from their preparation for the game to come in and present me with JP's game-worn Steelhead jersey that will be proudly displayed at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. That was really, really special. So it meant a lot to me. I know it means a lot to our team at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum.
Pareda leading things off here for the Mariners. Kansas City in front beginning the third.
I was just curious. It's just sort of, the foundation for the Mariners is also making a $25,000 donation to the Negro Leagues Museum in support of their campaign for the Buck O'Neill Education and Research Center. So what sort of things will that go to?
Well, we've outgrown our new home. See, we started this project in a one-room office in 1990. We moved into our current home in 1997. It's about 10,000 square feet of exhibit space, so it's not an overwhelmingly large footprint, but within those 10,000 square feet is a lot of information, and it's beautifully curated. But through the years, we've just outgrown our home, and so we are now embarking on a tremendous expansion project. That is the Buck O'Neill Education and Research Center that's there on the screen at the site of the former Paseo YMCA. That historic landmark is where the Negro Leagues were established in 1920. And so we've been saving that building, going to convert it into an education and research center in memory of the late, great Buck O'Neill, the founder of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. But we've also announced plans to build a new 35,000 square foot Negro Leagues Baseball Museum right there next to the historic landmark.
Well, these are some wonderful pictures from inside the museum.
Yes.
We were talking yesterday about people who might come out to Kansas City to see the Mariners play the Royals, and that this is an absolute must visit for them. I mean, this is as important and as enjoyable as coming to a ball game.
Well, it is, and I'm so thrilled that so many fans who come in to see, whether they're coming in to see the Royals or to see their favorite team. We get a lot of Mariner fans each and every year when the Mariners come to town to stop by, because they're very knowledgeable baseball fans. And if you're a fan of this game, then you should want to know the history of this game, because no sport holds to its history the way baseball does.
Really nice play there by Pasquantino at first base. We're going to keep Bob through the break. Bob Kendrick, the president of the Negro League Museum, will be with us on the other side. We continue our visit with Bob Kendrick. He's the president of the Negro League Museum here in Kansas City. And Bob, I know that we already gave the museum the J.P. Crawford autographed Steelheads uniform jersey, but we want to give you something, my friend.
Man.
We've got a Steelheads Kendrick uni.
I heard that Kendrick guy could play a little bit.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good. 46 for 1946, the year of the Steelheads. So this is for you.
No, this is very special, man. Thank you guys so much. I never get tired. This jersey is magnificent.
It's really nice.
It is a beautiful uniform. And so, no, this means a great deal to me personally. And I can't thank you guys enough for recognizing this piece of history, celebrating the heritage of the game there in Seattle. And this is something that I will certainly, I don't even know if I'm going to wear it. I may every now and then put it on just to make me feel like I'm a ball player.
You must, because it's a good-looking jersey on a hanger, but it's even better when you put that on.
Exactly. No, thank you all so much.
Absolutely, Bob. I'd say you've earned it.
Yeah, no kidding. And, Bob, I think that right when you guys opened and we were out here, I went through the museum. But what is it that you hope that people who do visit the museum take away from it?
Well, there are several things. But I can hear my friend Buck O'Neill's voice in my ear right now, because when I asked him, the thing that he wanted people to know, first and foremost, we could play. There's still this kind of belief that because it didn't happen in the major leagues, then it didn't happen. And he wanted you to know that it did happen. They could play this game as well as anyone ever played this game. But I think what I love about the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, by the time you walk away from that experience, you walk away cheering the power of the human spirit to persevere and prevail. You see, their passion for the game not only changed the game, but it helped change this country for the better. And they were so proud of what they were able to do in the face of tremendous social adversity. But our story is not about the adversity. It is about what they did to overcome that adversity. And that story is something that resonates, I think, with any of our guests who come to experience the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum.
Speaking of the people who come and visit, Mariners had an off day before this series began yesterday. And a guy that we know and love, Dan Wilson, happened to stroll by your neck of the woods. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, it was so funny because I was sitting out in the lobby of the museum talking to 3 of my friends from Sony, who we partnered with to include the Negro Leagues into the epic video game MLB The Show. And one of the game developers that were with us, a huge Mariner fan. And so I had my back turned. He sees Dan Wilson walk into the gift shop. And he says, man, that's Dan Wilson. And so I go over and introduce myself. And the next thing I know, all of us are walking on a tour of the museum. And as so typical, when I take the tour with folks, other people start coming in, you know, and I give them eye contact, and I say, oh, come on in, it's okay. And the next thing I know, we've got a large group of us walking through, listening to me tell stories in and around that museum. But it was pretty cool that Dan just showed up on his own.
Yeah, there's no call ahead. There's no, hey, can you hook me up with anything? Dan just rolled up off the street.
He was a paying customer.
It's the most Dan Wilson thing ever, right?
That's incredible.
All right, for those of us who went to the World War I this time around, I went to the World War I museum while I was on the day off. But what story did Dan hear? What's something that, you know, we can't go to the museum today? What story should we hear?
He was pretty impressed.
From you.
He was pretty impressed with Rube Foster. Rube Foster, Andrew Rube Foster, is the father of black baseball. He is the guy that established the Negro Leagues here in Kansas City on February 13, 1920. But Rube Foster, in my own opinion, is the greatest baseball mind this sport has ever seen. And nobody knows who the heck he is, even though he is rightfully enshrined in the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
Raley makes the catch on a deep fly by Salvador Perez. That gets Witt into third. Runners on the corners.
He is the rarest of baseball figures who would have gone in the Hall of Fame as a player, as a manager, and as an executive.
Wow.
And as I tell folks, you don't find many, if any, that check all 3 boxes. Been a great player himself in the early era of black baseball, credited with having invented what we now know to be the screwball. Back then it was called a fadeaway.
A fadeaway.
And he perfected that pitch, so much so that the great Major League manager John McGraw would sneak Rube into his camp so that Rube Foster could teach a young Christy Matheson how to throw the screwball. Christy Matheson, y'all, threw it all the way into the National Baseball Hall of Fame, a pitch that he learned from Rube Foster. But as a manager, and this is what I think caught Dan's attention, as a manager, he was so savvy to the point that he was known to fine his ball players at the turn of the 1900s as much as $5 if you were tagged out standing up. Oh no, you were supposed to slide. He would draw a circle down the first base line and a circle down the third base line, and if every one of his players.
Witt with that great speed, able to score on a sac fly that wasn't especially deep out to Rosarena. Go ahead.
And if every one of his players couldn't drop a bunt inside that circle, he would find them. He was adamant about the style of play that would become signature Negro Leagues baseball. Fast, aggressive, daring. They bunt their way on. They would steal second. They steal third, and if you weren't too smart, they were stealing home. and I think that whole notion of dropping a bunt inside the circle intrigued Dan a little bit.
I can believe it. I can believe it.
Hey, last year at spring training, the Mariners had buckets. They had buckets down the first baseline and the third baseline, and they had a bunting station that they did every single day. Everybody had to come by the bunting station, and you had to get a bunt in the bucket. So it wasn't a circle, you know, necessarily on the ground, but actually, you know, get it into the bucket.
But see, and I hope the audience listening understands $5 at the turn of the 1900s was a lot of money. So needless to say, they were sliding into those bases, and they could drop that bunt down.
Well, Bob, since you're here, before we let you go and the inning comes to a close, they've got the red seat, the Buck O'Neil seat here inside Kauffman Stadium. It's a great Royals tradition. They recognize those who make a difference in the community, a new person every game in the seat. There it is.
Yes.
If you could surmise what Buck O'Neil meant to Kansas City, to the Negro Leagues, to baseball, how do you sum it up?
The
He
catcher
was
is
just
challenging the
one
pitch.
of the finest human beings to ever walk the face of this earth, who just happened to be a great baseball player. But it was his humanity
Seattle has 2
that
remaining.
really, really struck us and still touches us, and that's what the legacy seat represents.
That's fantastic. Bob, it's so great to visit with you. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you, guys, and thank you to the Mariners organization for their continued support of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum.
Absolutely. Bob Kendrick, the president of the Negro League Museum, kind enough to join us here on the broadcast. Julio leads things off for the Mariners, top of the fourth, 4-0 Kansas City. Our thanks once again to Bob Kendrick, the president of the Negro League Museum, and just one of the great baseball people and personalities that you will ever come across. This goes foul over by third.
That was really fun having him here in the booth, and also, you know, hats off to the Mariners organization for everything they're doing as well.
Now, the Mariners have committed $500,000 to the Steelheads Community Fund, advancing black-led baseball and softball organizations and community initiatives back home in the Northwest. Proceeds from the Steelheads merchandise sales and Sunday home game 50-50 raffles will support the fund as well. So the Mariners have been very dedicated to advance that cause, and the only team in baseball that has a Negro League uniform, part of their regular rotation. And the Steelheads unis have been just awesome to see every Sunday at home. That guy knows what he's doing. Here's Naylor.
With both his jersey, his jersey, and that cotton candy. That's how you know you're old. If you don't love cotton candy anymore, just check the box, you're old.
That's fair. Naylor into shallow center field. Isbell underneath. 2 outs. Don't miss Julio Rodriguez 90s jersey night next weekend. First 15,000 fans will take home this 90s inspired sleeveless jersey Saturday, May 30th, thanks to KeyBank. Mariners.com/tickets. It'll be an interleague homestand. We've got the Mets and the Diamondbacks coming to town. Here's Randy. Rosarena falls behind 1-2. Kolek's faced the minimum in 2 of the first 3 innings. He's got a chance to do it again here. Looks like he will. Popped up into shallow center field. Massey, the second baseman, out, makes the catch to retire the side in order once again.
Welcome back to the Ford Sports Desk. Brad Adam with you here at Kauffman Stadium. Sneakerheads, if you're out there, you're going to like this segment, because up in the booth for the Royals on TV, their analyst Jeremy Guthrie, who is a former pitcher for the Royals. He was the first player, one of the first players, to put cleats on the bottom of his shoes. He did that in 2009 pitching for the Orioles. Liked it so much he became an investor in the company, and in 2023 he bought the company outright. He is the owner of Custom Cleats. And Mariners fans, you can guess that Yes, Josh Naylor, one of his biggest customers. He's been going there for just a couple of years, so he doesn't have the highest number of shoes that they've converted to cleats, but he says he does have the highest number of average order. He'll get a text from Josh saying that, hey, I just ordered a bunch on eBay, they're coming your way. So Custom Cleats, how it works is you just ship them to the company, Custom Cleats, and either in New York or Arizona, they put them together and they ship them right back to you. $190 for the pair. So it's something that Jeremy has really taken off and really enjoyed. They do cleats, they do soccer, they do baseball, softball, and he says that he really likes what Josh does, as Josh about to handle this one for the first out, is that he's so generous with the shoes. He'll come to him and he'll give shoes away. We've seen that a lot at T-Mobile Park during games. So Jeremy also said that he's probably got more shoes than Josh. So these guys, when they get together like they did today in the clubhouse, talk a lot about shoes. And I'm sure Josh placing another order this weekend.
Well, Jeremy is such a good dude. He is just beginning his broadcasting career. We saw him up here in the booth last year. Stanford guy, Northwest guy, actually. Went to Ashland High School in Ashland, Oregon, and beginning to do more and more games for the Royals. So I'm sure that he'll try to make it happen when the Mariners and the Royals are playing, so we can visit one of his clients and customers.
You figure, you know, okay, $190, and maybe you don't get that for your 4 or 5-year-old who's outgrowing their shoes every, 6 months. But if you've got older kids, I mean, like I said, I have a basketball player that plays baseball, and like he has like his Kobe Mambas, the shoes that he absolutely loves. To be able to change those Kobe Mambas into a pair of cleats, I mean, that is the coolest thing in the world. And I'm going to be busy for the rest of the game putting in my order, Aaron.
Just walk down the hall.
Yeah.
2 outs.
And it's cool, and it's not just professional athletes, guys. He was telling me that Paul Rudd and several other celebrities, that when they play in these celebrity, softball not all-star, but celebrity softball games, they send their cleats to him. He outfitted one entire team doing this. So, again, as Angie was pointing out, it can be for kids, it can be for anybody, athletes, anybody who kind of wants to change their shoes, any type of shoes, and make them into any type of cleats. Pretty cool idea.
The game has come a long way.
Well, Josh actually took my phone when I was asking about where he gets his cleats and how he makes, any shoe into cleats, basically. And he was trying to tell me about Custom Cleats, and he just basically grabbed my phone away from me. And now I follow Custom Cleats on Instagram because Josh Naylor did it on my phone. Otherwise, I was having trouble finding them, but he found them for me, and now I know. If you know, you know.
And what a business that Jeremy Guthrie has taken over. Isbell is batting here with 2 outs. Does not go. 3 runs in the first for the Royals. They added on a run in the third. Deep down the line, but pulled foul. Another ground ball. There is Young, and an easy toss over to first base. Side sat down in order by George Kirby. Luke Raley leads off the 5th when we come back. Well, the Mariners have more Decades weekends coming up, which means more Decade pin giveaways presented by KeyBank. Don't miss the King Griffey Jr. pin May 31st, the Ichi Meter pin July 19th, and Kings Court pin August 23rd. Mariners.com/pins. Raley leading things off in the 5th for the Mariners. 4-0 Kansas City. behind 0-2.
Talked about how that first time through the lineup, he kind of stayed away from his changeup, but the lefty's now seeing that pitch quite a bit.
This is dropping in for a base hit, a multi-hit day for Luke Raley.
And the fact that he threw that changeup, he got Luke Raley to swing through it for that first strike of the inning. He makes the adjustment at the end of that bat. He tries to get another changeup by him, and he ends up dropping it into left field.
Well, this is the definition of cruising so far today for Kolek. No more than 12 pitches in any single inning. First pitch strike up and in to Cole Young. Mariners with 3 hits. They have all been singles. One stayed on the infield. And Young behind 0-2. Kolek was a former farmhand of the Padres. He was traded to the Royals when the Mariners saw the Padres a couple of times recently. You might remember Freddie Fermin, their catcher. Fermin was Salvador Perez's backup for so many years here in Kansas City, and they traded Fermin to San Diego to get Kolek in return. It really worked out to be a nice trade for the Royals. Kolek showed some real promise early on in his career, and meanwhile the Royals have Carter Jensen, who was one of the top prospects in baseball. He's the heir apparent to Perez behind the plate. He's catching today. So when that trade was made, they had a guy who they felt was right there on the cusp in Jensen, and now here he is on the big leagues.
Once upon a time, part of the Mariners organization. Spent time at all 3 minor league levels, but never pitched for the Mariners at the big league level.
Now 29 years old. Throw to first base. Raley back in there. A challenge coming here from Jensen. He thinks this could strike him out. ABS powered by T-Mobile, and it is just low.
All right, so yesterday, kind of interesting to see Carter Jensen before the game, Aaron, was actually practicing with their ABS system. So they had ABS on the phone of the coaches. All right, so they had some sort of app open, and he was catching balls on the edges and trying to figure out, was it a ball or was it a strike?
Young is safe, a fielder's choice, 1 out, 1 on.
So, you know, they were basically getting closer to home plate, seeing what his success rate was closer to home plate versus backing off of home plate, getting a little bit deeper. Of course, you know, sometimes the hitter's going to judge whether or not you can play a little bit closer. You know, guys that get the bat in the zone earlier, you want to play a little bit deeper so you don't get that catcher's interference. But I just thought it was fascinating. And this is a new wrinkle. You know, ABS is here, and you've got to sort of train with ABS and make sure that you're getting good at calling what's a strike and what's a ball. And apparently with that last ABS challenge, he needs to get in some early work again tomorrow.
Well, he hasn't been great. He has now lost 11 and won 11 on the year. So not a very successful ratio so far for Jensen, but that's fascinating that the Royals are actually practicing that. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it. I had never heard of a team practicing
I haven't seen a team do it either, and that's why it piqued my interest. And Lane Thomas was actually in the box as a hitter, and he was doing the same thing. They were asking him, was that a strike or was that a ball? And you know, I'd hear him say strike, and they go, no, it's a ball. And it is the same thing. So, you know, it's a new wrinkle, and it's a new way that major league teams are probably going to be training.
1 out, 1 on, and Dom Canzone at the plate. Left center field, and the catch made by Collins. If you look at catchers this year who have challenged at least 20 calls, the Royals actually have one of the most successful challengers rather. Salvador Perez has won 27 challenges. He's got a 77% overturn rate or win rate, at second best in baseball behind Carson Kelly of the Cubs.
When you think about the library and the catalog that he has in between the ears of all the pitches throughout the years.
A lot of time with the gear on for that man. Johnny Parade, the batter, 2 outs and a man aboard.
You've seen Johnny Paredes' arm. He is a strong kid. Lined out in his last at bat to center field. Did a good swing on it.
This kicks off of Jensen all the way to the backstop. He can't find it, and now here comes the turn. Young is going to third. The throw is there in all kinds of time, and Young is out. And out at third base to end the inning. Young is thrown out by Jensen. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning. Mariners still held off the board. Mariners TV is brought to you by your Northwest Buick GMC. See your Northwest GMC dealer today. By Steel, the official outdoor power equipment of the Seattle Mariners. And by Washington Trust Bank, privately owned and locally invested since 1902. Got the drone high above Kauffman Stadium here. Well, the Royals are getting a little bit of both worlds here today. They're getting some great starting pitching, and they got some early offense as well. 3 runs in the first. They added on in the third. And lead it beginning the bottom of the 5th. They've got the top of the order here.
And the Mariners have just not been able to get anything going offensively. So I understand why Cole Young is really being aggressive there in the last inning, trying to make something happen and getting from first to third on the wild pitch. But you got to kind of temper that aggressiveness with making sure you don't make that third out at third base.
Very close, and Prado wants to challenge this. This looked like they maybe got the bottom of the zone. And it is a strike.
The pitch is a strike. Seattle has 2 challenges remaining.
Good challenge there by Pareda. I mean, when you look at this Royals lineup, I mean, this top of the order. I mean, that's the focus. You want to keep those 2 off base.
Bobby Witt Jr. on deck.
You look at this game, and Garcia scored once, and Bobby Witt Jr. scored twice.
Kirby gets the strikeout. Leadoff man sat down. Good to have the bases empty in front of Witt.
Really good movement on this sinker. You look at that 2-seamer and where it starts off the plate and just comes over and catches that low and away corner. Tough to do anything with that pitch. Well-cated low and away fastball.
It's really felt like a ton of ground balls today for Kirby, now facing Bobby Witt Jr. It's not even close to his season high. Now we're only in the 5th inning, but 10 ground balls today facing Kirby. His season high is 16. He has the 4th highest ground ball rate in the majors coming into play today.
That first inning, I mean, it was just so frustrating. So many of them not leaving the infield. Garcia stung him into the gap. And also you had Caglione who hit a line drive into right. But everything in between there was just dribbled and dunked, and just a frustrating way to put up 3 in the first inning. getting the weak contact, you're getting the ground ball and getting punished for it.
This is deep down the line, but slices how to play foul. Still 1-2. After a slow start this year, Bobby Witt Jr. has looked a lot like himself as of late. Out to center field, Julio tracking this. He's nearing the warning track, and he makes the catch, angling back towards the wall. 2 down on a deep ride to center field. That ball was punched well, but is out off the bat of Witt.
It was punched, and part of this was the flags and the wind blowing it, and then the other part was just the movement of a ball like that off the bat in the air. Julio Rodriguez made that look really easy, but from our vantage point here, you could see how much that ball moved in the air. Did a great job of cutting his feet.
Two down, nobody out for Pasquantino. He flies this out towards center. Julio coming in this time. Keeps coming in, and he makes the catch. Julio, a busy man here in the 5th inning. Side sat down 1-2-3 by George Kirby. It's not too late to come on aboard with a Mariners Flex membership. You can choose your games and seats as you go. Save 10% or more on tickets with no fees. And lock in priority postseason access. Sign up for the most fan-friendly season ticket plan in baseball. Mariners.com/flex. All kinds of Mariners fans making their way to Kansas City for this Memorial Day weekend.
Kind of have to really focus in on what color blue to find the Mariner fans, but they're here, a lot of them.
Pareda leads things off for the Mariners in the 6th. Does not go. Looked like he kind of stumbled a little bit there on a check swing. 2-1.
Really trying to use that lower half to put the brakes on that swing, and when he did, stumbles out of the box.
Pasquantino makes the catch. Here comes Cole Emerson. Now the Mariners have sent the minimum to the plate in every inning but one. That was the second, where they sent 4 to the plate, and Kolek threw 12 pitches.
That was the inning where Luke Raley and Cole Young, back-to-back lefty hitters, got a hold of the changeup, and those were the first hits against Kolek's changeup so far in this 2026 season. He sort of pivoted away, got a double play, got out of the inning.
Quickly 0-2 on Emerson. Mariners top prospect, one of the top prospects in baseball, making his debut on the homestand. Grounder, it's over Kolek. Massey charges from the grass. It is in time. Emerson trying to leg out a base hit, but out. We'll see if Dan wants to challenge.
Massey not taking any wasted steps, trying to get rid of it.
Well, the Mariners would love to find a way to move Kolek off his spot, so to speak. 18 pitches in the 5th, by far the most he has thrown in an inning. He has just been in the rocking chair today. Mariners have put almost no pressure on him at all this afternoon. Strike 1 to Crawford.
Get some long at-bats in the 5th inning, but other than that, the Mariners have been really aggressive against him and have given him some really short innings. And Kulik sort of, you know, he's in a similar boat to what Emerson Hancock was in. You know, he's sort of holding a place right now in this rotation. Reagans is on his way back. He's actually making a start for them today. But even when he comes back, it looks like Kulik will remain in the rotation for a little bit longer because Bubic is still on the IL.
A ground ball finds Bobby Wood Jr. It's another very quick inning for Kulik. He's faced the minimum in 5 of the first 6 innings. Well, on a more positive note, Arthur Bryant's barbecue. You can't go wrong.
Welcome back to KC. Bottom of 6 here. Brad, Adam with you. There's an old tradition in baseball where veterans would take a rookie who just got called up out shopping and buy himself his first big league suit. And that's what happened on Thursday, the off day here in Kansas City. Josh Naylor, J.P. Crawford took that man, Colt Emerson, out to get a suit. And J.P. asked him, kind of, what's your style, Colt? Colt's like, I don't know, plain? And J.P.'s like, no, I got you, dude. So he got him a nice cream-colored suit. Colt said there's a nice pattern in there. JP called it swaggy. I asked Colt if he feels confident he could wear that. And he said, yeah, you just got to wear it with confidence. He's excited to wear that. Also got himself a lavender sports coat, which he's really excited about wearing, and will be donning that tomorrow on the plane on the trip down to Sacramento. So a suit and a sport coat for Mr. Emerson. So the veterans bringing back the tradition. Good to see here in Kansas City.
Oh, that is very cool.
Well, especially when you think about, like, Colt Emerson, young kid. I wouldn't I wouldn't exactly put him fashion forward. That's not the first thing that comes to mind when I think about Colt Emerson, like Josh. And for him to say, okay, what do you guys think? Yeah, cream suit, lavender sport coat. Yeah, that all tracks. That makes sense. I love it all.
Well, there was a time a couple of decades ago where it was sport coat and tie every road trip.
Yeah.
And then Joe Madden came into the fold.
Pretty soon we got boa constrictors in the clubhouse and everybody's wearing pajamas. Yeah. It is kind of crazy. I mean, like, even in the beginning of my career, you know, a couple decades ago, it's just like every single time you're rocking up into a hotel lobby at 3 in the morning in full suits, no one can see you. So it's not like, you know, you're not like all airport team, because it's not like you're traveling through the airport on the way to the charter. You're just taking a bus from, you know, the back door of the stadium.
This is hanging up into right field. It drops in front of Luke Raley.
So it didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me. Joe Madden made a little bit more sense.
I remember when Dan was up here in the booth. We were on a road trip in Minnesota, and it was the middle of the summer. It still doesn't make sense to me. And I was walking outside to get some lunch, and it was August or whatever, and it was hot outside. It's the Midwest in the summertime, and I was wearing shorts. And Dan was truly appalled that I would wear shorts in the hotel lobby. Like
really?
He wore me out in a Dan way.
Yeah.
So
he was like,
it's like, Aaron, I don't know about that. That's Dan.
Really wore you out.
Yeah,
really wore you out.
That's on a Dan scale.
Up one side and down the other.
And it was all because I wore shorts in the hotel lobby. And the point of this is, he came up in a much different time. Lou Piniella overseeing everything, and it was, you're going to wear flip-flops and shorts to the hotel lobby? That's a fine. Caglione is at the plate. I remember when broadcasting of the minors is not in the lower levels, not in AA or in single A, but in AAA, all of the players with the team that I broadcasted for traveled on the road with a sport coat, in the event that while we were on the road, they were called up to the parent club.
Oh, really?
They would have a sport coat so they could fit in on the team travel with the team charter. Jensen on the move. Here's a ground ball over to Young. No play at second. Runner at second, 2 away. So, and that was 15 years ago.
Yeah, but I really do think that, you know, because rest and recovery and sleep and all of those things have become so important. It's really hard in a suit and a tie to fall asleep on a plane. And so I think, you know, there is, you know, something to be said about allowing these guys, especially anybody who plays in Seattle and travels, you know, usually year in and year out the most of any other major league team, for them to be comfortable and, you know, get the Z's when you can get the Z's.
2 down, a man at second base for Isaac Collins. Kirby getting close to 90 pitches now.
What I'm saying is I hope they get a picture of him sleeping in his cream suit.
Drops in, base hit, center field. Jensen's making the turn. Here comes a throw home from Julio. It is not in time. Paredes tagged just late. Jensen scores from second base. It's 5-0 Kansas City. Will the Mariners want to challenge? Yes, they will.
Julio Rodriguez not worried about hitting the cut. He is trying to get the runner out at home plate. And Jensen with decent speed for a catcher, and because there was 2 outs, he was able to get a great jump from second base. It'd be something if Julio could have gotten him here.
That left hand, or no, call me Supremo. Does the left hand touch home before the tag?
This is close. You can understand, though. I mean, already Kansas City Royals out to a sizable lead here. The Mariners running out of time and outs to be able to play catch up. There's a chance you want to challenge this.
And that oven mitt might have given him just a little bit of enough of a head start there, touching home. And is ruled safe. They will have to find something to turn this over that is clear and convincing. Yeah, that's a pretty good angle right there. You can see that hand brush the corner of the plate.
Runner safe. Seattle loses their challenge.
So the language there is very telling. It's confirmed. So New York saw enough evidence that says, yes, that was the right call. If the call was announced as the call stands, then they would say, well, we don't see enough to overturn it. So they saw enough to say, yes, he is clearly safe. The run does score, and it's 5-0 Kansas City. Here's Massey. Next pitch will be number 90 for Kirby. That gets Collins back. Bullpen is up for the Mariners. Criswell beginning to warm. Hoppy as well. Pareda back pick to first. It's out of Naylor's glove. Massey 1 for 2 today. Out to the gap in right center field. Julio tracks this one down. Meanwhile, Collins makes the turn into third, and the Royals have him on the corners. Multi-hit day for Michael Massey, the number 8 hitter. 3 singles in this inning for the Royals.
And that's just really the story of today for George Kirby. He's made a lot of really good pitches, been able to keep this Kansas City Royals team in the yard, but they've been able to put up 5 and right now have runners on first and third. More work to be done.
Well, Dan really hoping that his starter can go 6 today. 92 pitches for Kirby facing the number 9 hitter. You've got the top of the order due up next. You're 2 batters away from Witt. Ground ball finds Cole Young, gets to him quickly, and that retires the side. 2 men left, but a man does score after 6. Royals have a 5-0 lead. On to the 7th. Julio leads things off. Well, the first Mariners fireworks night of the season is less than a week away. Don't miss this epic 90s show May 29th after the Mariners take on the Diamondbacks, presented by T-Mobile and Warm 106.9. Mariners.com/fireworks to get your tickets. Here is Julio. Julio looking for his first hit. One ball and one strike. Kolek pitching into the 7th today.
His pitch counting great shape at 73 pitches right now.
Well, Brad was talking earlier about how well Julio has hit here in Kansas City. He's been incredible here at Kauffman. If you look at Julio for his career against the Royals, it's the best batting average for a Mariner versus a single opponent in team history, hitting .381 lifetime against Kansas City. Pretty remarkable. One and two his way. Probably 2 and 2.
Again, on the other side of things, the Royals just absolutely frustrated with how every single time Julio seems to step foot in this building, he just abuses the pitching staff.
3 balls, 2 strikes to Julio. And Julio draws a walk. First walk today from Kolek. That is the second time today the Mariners have had the leadoff man reach. Not a whole lot of traffic today for the M's.
Luke Raley led off the 5th inning with a single, but you're right, they just haven't been able to get a whole lot of traffic against him. If the Mariners can get to him here, Julio leads off, and then he's got to face 3, 4, 5 part of their order for the 3rd time.
Mariners with just 3 hits today, all singles. Naylor ahead 2-0. The Mariners won last night 2-0 on a 2-run homer. Mariners had nothing going offensively last night till Garver's home run. In the month of May, the Mariners have scored, let's call it 63% of their runs via the home run ball. It's by far the highest rate in all of baseball in the month of May. Well, the Mariners have relied on the home run a lot in recent years, but this month it's been really exaggerated. Ground ball up the middle. Witt has it. Gets back to the bag and throws on to first, and that leadoff man that reaches base is erased. It's a 6-3 double play. Now, tough thing too, we talked about the Mariners wanting to win back-to-back series. They've got a chance to do that with a win today after last night's win. They took 2 out of 3 against Chicago to end the homestand. And think about tomorrow. Seth Lugo's going tomorrow for the Royals. This is in line out to left field, and the catch made. And it will not be easy tomorrow against Lugo. So you really felt like getting one today would probably be pretty high on the list. But as we go to the stretch, it's 5-0 Kansas City. Mariners TV is brought to you by the Washington Lottery. Washington's lottery helps fund the Washington Grant. Free money for college, training, or apprenticeships. George Kirby is done for the day. He gave the Mariners some innings. He goes 6, but gives up 5 runs on 9 hits.
And I think, you know, this is a hard one to sort of look at. You look at the runs, you know, 5 runs, 3 of those earned. But honestly, it looks a lot worse than it was for George Kirby. I think he threw the ball well. He kept the ball on the ground. A lot of them were just able to find holes. None of those. That's what George Kirby needed, atom balls, and he just didn't get it today.
Now, there's no question about that. Alex Hoppe takes over. It's been a little while since he's pitched. 5 days since we've seen him on the mound. It's Garcia to line out to first base on the first pitch. Now looks at Bobby Witt Jr. Bottom of the zone for a strike at 98. Now, this game did not start off well for the Mariners. A 3-run first for Kansas City. They've scored 2 runs since then. Credit to Kirby for getting through 6 innings today. Julio coming in on this and making the catch. Witt flies out to Julio for the 2nd straight at bat.
Yeah, it's been one of his biggest strengths this season, is the ability to get deep in games. And you know, for him to be able to get, you know, if he was able to get through the 6 and then you think, okay, things are going to, you know, set up late in the game. Hoppe is a guy that, you know, he's been given more opportunities, but with a 5-0 lead for Kansas City, you're probably not going to see any of the A-arms for the A-side arms for the Mariners bullpen. Without probably.
Pasquantino batting with 2 outs and nobody on.
You know, as frustrated as you are as that 3-run first inning, or the fact that they tacked on a couple more, the bottom line is the Mariners have a 0, you know, next to their name. I mean, they've just got to find a way to get more offense. Yesterday they were able to do it late against the Royals bullpen, which is sort of the soft underbelly of this team. But it's a really hard way to win, to always try and you know, get those runs late.
Julio giving some ground, curling over to this one underneath it and puts it away. Hoppe with a 1-2-3. Bottom of the 7th, going through the top of the order. A weekend in Kansas City. We go to the 8th inning. Mariners on the downside. Today's Chevy Silverado drive of the game. Now, so far, Stephen Kolek, he's been brilliant. Just 3 hits over 7 scoreless. This is out to the gap in right center field, and it's down for a base hit. It's cut off right in front of the warning track, but Raley gets into second base. And that's a good start for the Mariners to begin the 8th inning.
The fact that he's into the 8th inning, this is you know, territory he's not seen so far this season, but a really nice piece of hitting right there by Luke Raley and understanding the assignment here. I mean, the Mariners need base running. Yeah, they don't need to leave the yard. You got to find a way on, get some traffic, and get to that Kansas City Royals bullpen.
Hopping softly to Pasquantino. Meanwhile, Raley gets into third. One out and a runner 90 feet away for the first time today. Well, the first time since Raley in the second, I should say. Kolek has one complete game in his career. That was last May. Believe it or not, it's tough to get a complete game shutout at Coors Field, and that's where he did it. Last September, he was tremendous against the Mariners yet again. He pitched into the 8th last year against the M's, allowed just 2 runs. So this is nothing new for Kolek against the Mariners, unfortunately. Jensen able to keep it in front of him. And that keeps Raley at third base. This is into the crowd alongside left field. 2-2 to Canzone. Canzone strikes out, 2 down. And the wild thing about today and the Mariners' struggles is that they have had the struggles without the swing and miss. That's the first strikeout today for Kolek.
But it was on the slider too. Not a changeup. We've been hyping up all day, but a slider. I think it's that pitch, that changeup in the back of your head, especially for these lefties. You know, you've just got to cover that difference between that changeup and his fastball, and you don't want to get caught in between that slider, right in between.
Two 2-0. EQC tracer just showing at the top of the zone. Raley at third base after a leadoff double. Good take just off the plate, does not go. Bullpen is quiet for the Royals. 93 pitches for Kolek. Three-two. Pasquantino angling by the tarp that's rolled up, and he climbs the tarp, but it's into the crowd. He's just showing off the hops. Yeah, final game of the series tomorrow. It'll be a good pitching matchup. Wu versus Lugo. We're on the air at 11 Pacific. Final game in Kansas City before heading off to Sacramento to face the A's. Another ball in play and another out as this flies out to Isbell in center, and Kolek is having one of the best days of his career. He goes 8 shutout against the Mariners today.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the expressed written consent of the Seattle Mariners.
Today's Overlake Medical Center scoreboard. Royals have all 5 runs. And they are going to give Kolek a chance for a complete game shutout. We'll get to that when we reach the ninth. In the meantime, Nick Davila has taken over on the mound for the Mariners in the home eighth. His 7th major league appearance.
It was his debut against these Royals and his first strikeout against Bobby Witt Jr. I said, did you bring the ball? I talked to him before today's game. I said, did you bring the ball to get him to sign it? He said, I forgot.
Is that a thing?
We did say there is the danger that he might throw it back at you. Or it just doesn't ever come back and you've lost your first ever major league strikeout ball.
Bobby just throws it in the trash can?
Yeah.
1 ball and 1 strike. Up and in.
I suggested maybe you just send a ball over, you know, rub it up a little bit. Say it was the, you know, hey, this is my first strikeout. Would you mind signing it? And then, you know, hey, you've got an autograph from who you got your first major league strikeout. And then maybe next time when they're in town, you actually walk the ball over there.
2-2 on Salvador Perez. Next home run from Salvi, and he will pass Hall of Famer Pudge Rodriguez for the 7th most home runs among catchers all time in baseball history. They each have 311 right now. This is on the ground over to Emerson. 1 down. Mike Piazza the most ever, 427. Johnny Bench second at 389.
You see that, I mean, he can still put together a really good at bat, still turn around a fastball, but it's Carter Jensen who's kind of putting a lot of pressure to, you know, either have Salvador Perez play first base like he did the other day or have him DH because he's been so strong at that catcher position.
Jensen lifts this one foul. By the way, speaking of the all-time home run catcher leaderboard,
There you go.
Mike Zunino, 47th all-time, 149. Cal Raleigh just recently passed Buster Posey. Cal's 41st all-time in the history of the game for catcher home runs. It's pretty impressive. I mean, he's got a chance.
Already.
He's got a chance to climb into the top 30 this year.
We're actually talking with Dan about his communication right now with Cal, who's down in Arizona. And he said, I've been texting him, and was asked, are they angry texts from Cal? And Dan paused. And he said, they're fine. They're fine. So tough for Cal to be able to be watching from afar. If you are watching, hi Cal. Can't wait to have you back. The most important thing, though, is Cal, when he does come back, is that he's 100% right. And it isn't something that lingers throughout the season.
Well, the Mariners were happy, very happy to learn that it was not as bad as they had initially thought it might be for Cal in that oblique. Three-two. 1-out walk to Jensen.
There really are some dreaded words, you know, in this sport of baseball. Oblique is one of them. I would say lat is another one, because you just never really know how long, you know, a player is going to be out. You know, you look at, you know, Brash and how quickly he was able to come back, and then, you know, you look at somebody like Vargas and how long things are taking. You just never know. And then you look at Luke Raley with the oblique last year, and you hear oblique with Cal Raleigh, and all of a sudden you start wringing your hands.
And Luke missed about half the season last year. Ball and a strike to Caglione.
And Cal Raleigh and Luke Raley are kind of a strange, friendship group, if you will. Luke Raley is one of those blue-collar guys, lunchbox guys. He's one of the first ones there, last ones to leave. Who else is the first one there, last ones to leave? So he and Cal got really close, and Cal talked about, watching Luke go through that. And now Luke being, the person to be able to give him advice as Cal goes through a similar situation. But again, everyone is so different. Every oblique injury is so different.
Two and two on Caglione. Got him diving after that slider, and Avila strikes out Caglione for out number 2. Well, the Mariners are back in town next weekend for a big 3-game series against the Diamondbacks, May 29th to the 31st. You don't want to miss this exciting weekend at the ballpark, and Seattle's own Corbin Carroll comes back to his home ballpark. Mariners.com/tickets. Ball 1 to Collins.
A lot of really good movement today for Avila on that slider.
Just misses off the plate. Trying to backdoor it, 2-1. I sometimes wonder when I see a backdoor slider like that just misses. How many times is the pitcher trying to backdoor it, and how many times is it just miss a spot and almost got lucky and clipped the outer edge?
Just judging by where Pareda, I'm going to say that was intentional on that last one. Pareda's got really good hands back there. You see him slamming that strike at the top of the zone. Even if this one gets overturned, it's the fact that you make the Royals use a challenge here because of the way he received that ball.
1 remaining.
Three and 1. Only extra base hit for Kansas City was the leadoff double by Garcia to begin the game. 8 singles after that.
Again, I hate this start for George Kirby because I think his stuff looked really good. We've talked about his sinker usage is up this year, pairing better with that forcing fastball and the sweeper, and he's getting all these ground balls. He did it today. He got the ground balls. It's just he had no luck at all.
Challenge. And it is a ball.
Now, if this is, Johnny Pareda, it's late in this ball game. It's time to use him.
Yeah, you're hoping that would have ended the inning, but instead the second walk. Yeah, there definitely seemed like there was some Babapine going on against Kirby today, especially in that first in particular. The reality is, even if he'd only given up...
That was the word I was looking for as to the bad luck for him this year, or in this start. Thank you, Aaron.
The reality is that even if he'd only given up 1 run, the Mariners would still be losing right now. Now the ninth inning would be maybe a little more manageable or a little more approachable. Mariners right now trailing 5-0. And of course, you'd have some different pitchers that followed George, had that been the case. There's the strike. Two outs and two on for Michael Massey. He's got a couple of hits in this one. Ground ball finds Naylor, and he will circle to the bag himself. Well, the Mariners are trying to avoid the shutout today. Meanwhile, Stephen Kolek is on the hunt for his second career shutout. We go to the ninth, and the Royals starting pitcher trying to finish the deal. Today's Home Depot working on a win. Andres Munoz as of late. Ninth save of the season last night. That was in the opening game. Never threw a fastball. 16 pitches, 0 heaters last night for Munoz. He's really thrown the ball well as of late. Mariners are sad that he has not been able to pitch in this one today. Mariners are down to their final 3 outs. And Kolek is trying to spin his second career complete game shutout. He would be the 4th in the majors this year. Two and one. Evens the count on Emerson. Bullpen is up for the Royals. They've got their best leverage arm, Lucas Erceg, getting loose. Hard throwing righty.
Yeah, because the Kansas City Royals have struggled lately. We've talked about their struggles. He hasn't pitched since May 17th. You got to go back a minute.
The Royals have lost 10 of their last 11 games. Off the hands, pulled foul. A nice way for Colt Emerson to begin his career, reaching in each of his first 5 games. He's 0 for 2 today, yet to reach. He's trying to keep that streak alive. Top of the order next for the Mariners. Next pitch from Kolek will tie a career high. He threw 104 last year in his shutout against the Rockies. Emerson down to a knee, coming up empty. Only the second strikeout today for Kolek.
And this one was on the sweeper. You see a big bending break on that pitch that gets Colt Emerson out in front.
By the way, a little more at stake for Kolek today than in his previous CG. And this is taking nothing away from a complete game shutout last year that he had against the Rockies. It was a 21-0 win as this ball finds left field and Collins. And this one a little closer than that. Bullpen is up after all. But the Mariners now down to their final out.
21-0.
21-0.
Incredible.
Well, the last hope today for the Mariners is Julio. Christopher Sanchez, Bailey Ober, Sandy Alcantara. Those were the only 3 pitchers in baseball this year. It's just been a complete game shutout. Kolek trying to add his name to the list. Good take, ball 1. It was the Mariners with the shutout win in last night's game, and the Royals trying to return the favor today. And they will. In the air, out to right field. Isbell is underneath it. Kolek spins his second career complete game shutout. It comes at the Mariners' expense. Just a bad day at the ballpark for the M's. 5-0.
Well, when they did have traffic, you go back to that second inning early in this one. Dom Canzone ended up hitting into a double play. They had traffic again in the 5th inning, and then Cole Young really trying to be aggressive, tries to go from first to third on the wild pitch, gets thrown out, ends the inning on the base pass. So, you know, even when they did get traffic, they just couldn't get anything to happen. But Kolek, I mean, he was fantastic today, and he did it differently. He didn't throw his changeup a whole bunch. He was right on line with what he's been doing all season long versus that last start against the Mariners. He threw that changeup a ton. Today he got it done differently against these Mariners, particularly with that sweeper and his 4-seam fastball, both those pitches coming out of the same tunnel.
He's keeping that baseball. All smiles from Kolek. The series now tied 1 game each. It'll be a really intriguing day tomorrow. Final game of the series, as the Mariners will give the ball to Brian Wu, and the Royals will counter with Seth Lugo. We're on the air tomorrow at 11 Pacific. 5-0. The Royals win in a shutout. Mariners postgame starts in 2 minutes.